recording live from the Twitch network. I'm back to you today. Yesterday I did the introduction of going to be building a game live here on Twitch from the ground up, just using some small libraries and frameworks, but going to build the game engine and go right into the game, and you can join in, you can make feature suggestions, you can make game suggestions, you can ask questions. This is about you guys learn how to make games, and me learning more about making games. There's always more to learn. So yesterday we started out with the tried and true Hello World. It's the always how you should start. If you don't start with the Hello World, you're crazy. You need to start with the Hello World. So I'm just gonna pick up where we left off. I'm just gonna run our game just to see how we're looking here. So it's just going to run from the command line, hackslib, run osx, not run, yeah, that's run, run ka osx. And so just going to kind of show where we left off. What's always kind of a good idea is, if you're following along and getting the code from GitHub, is to download it, compile it, play with it a little bit. I'm going to show you a quick little thing with our Hello World to kind of just animate some text around, and then we're going to go into loading an image, which is sort of an essential part of building games, obviously. Games usually are full of images. Not necessarily true, though. Like, we can build a text-based game if we wanted to, but what fun is that? So there's our Hello World, right where we left it. And so let's go back to our code here. I noticed something yesterday that I kind of forgot to do, but it didn't crash the game, but it's something that's safer to do. We actually want to create a variable we're going to call it initialized. This is just in case the font is not loaded yet. There's a potential possibility that this would be null and that would crash. So we want to avoid that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to set this to false to start out with. So we're going to initialize it to initialize it to false at the beginning of the program. And then we're going to, once this is loaded, we can actually set this initialized to true. And now here we just want to avoid rendering to happen if everything isn't initialized. So we're just going to return. So what this means is, in this, all the assets are ready to go. If we hit initialize and everything's not ready to go, it's not initialized, it'll just return. We don't actually have to try and draw anything. It's just a safer bet. So what we're going to do is, if you watched yesterday's program, you'll see that the render happens constantly, 60 frames a second, and same with update. We can change the update frequency, but we can keep it 60 because that's what I want our game to run at. And this engine is fully capable of rendering 60 frames a second. So let's go ahead and just move some text around. So what happens is 60 times a second, this render function is going to be called. So what we can do is we can create a private variable. And
What?
I'm talking. Create a private variable. That was my girlfriend. She was eating cereal and asked me what I was doing. So I'm going to create a private variable. I think she's curious because the door opened on its own and the cat walked in. So I think she thought there was a ghost around or something. So with hacks, if we create a float, it actually initializes as null. But null, yeah. And if you try and add to it or whatever, it'll just return not a number, and that doesn't do us any good. So what we can do is we can set so here, our first argument is our x position, and our second argument is our y position. So obviously we're starting in the top left-hand corner. And so now we're just going to set a variable here, and afterwards we're going to increment it. So if we run our game again, we'll see our text do something a little bit more exciting. Not much more exciting, but more exciting nonetheless. So we'll get this building out. And I kind of encourage you to go ahead and do things like this. It's really important to understand how the updates are happening, how things are interacting with how you write your code. And as you can see here, we made our hello world go across the screen. And what we can do too is we can have it retweet. You can say down here after this x position, say if x position is greater than 800. I think that's what we hard-coded it to. Yeah, it's 800 wide. We can always change that, and we can say, like, you know, I think it's actually system. Oops, that's not the right system. The system, cost system. I think it's like screen width or something. No, I guess not. I have to look it up in the documentation. I'll look it up in a minute. But if we say it's greater than 100, it's going to set the x position back to 0. And so now it'll go across the screen and start over. Get a nice little build going. And there we go, there's our hello world. It's creeping across the screen. It's like a stock ticker now. Maybe we should change it to a stock ticker. Why not? And as it gets to the end of it, it should start over, and there it comes. So we can make it better. We could probably subtract by so much it starts behind it, but this is not that exciting. One thing I do want to change, this is kind of frustrating, have to run this every time. So looks like our game is being run here. So I think we should be able to just do open build 06 build release contents. Now we'll just run it straight ahead without building. So I hate having this window open every time. So I'm going to create a script that'll just do it for us. So I'm just going to copy this. And we'll just call it run.sh. sh meaning shell. And we're just going to run our build program here. So we say hackslib run ca osx. Oops. And we're just going to have it compile so it doesn't try and do both. And then have it run it. So now it should, in theory, I need to change the mode to being executable. And now we just run it. And this should build and run just in the same window, which I find a little slightly more convenient instead of having it pop up every time. It didn't. I'll figure that out. I think actually I did this before in a different project. I think it was oh, I guess if we do exit. Hopefully it does, because I think it's super annoying. I don't like annoying things. Oh, Speak Leo always gets the goose. Ah, it didn't work. Alright, I'll have to figure that out. Oh, you know what probably is? It's probably this. We should go just do this. Okay. That's enough on that. So what we're going to do, we're going to actually draw an image on screen. It's a lot more fun than watching me try and run that, get that script working. In fact, speaking of, I'm going to make this a bit bigger. I noticed it was pretty small on the recording last night, so I just Hopefully it's a little bit bigger. If you guys don't think it's big enough, let me know. I want you guys to be able to see what's going on here. In fact, I'm going to do this. So I just did, on Mac, I did Command K, just cleared the window. I think it's CLS in Windows. It's been almost 7 years since I used a Windows machine, and so I don't remember all the hotkeys anymore. I apologize. So what we're going to do is we're going to go over here to Google Images, and I'm just using an image I've been using a bit for fun, which is the Grumpy Cats. There we go. There's our Grumpy Cat. Copy that there. And then we're going to drop our Grumpy Cat into our project. So what we did yesterday is we added to our core file, not our core file, our COF file, we added our assets, and we put assets / star. It means it'll include everything, just build it in. So this should just happen automatically. And we're just going to keep our hello world in here going. We're just going to load our image underneath it. So here we're just going to say load asset, load image, I'm sorry. And we're going to use the cat minus the extension, as we did with the font. I think I just copied that. And we're going to say on image loaded, and we're going to create a variable to hold that image. We call it Grumpy Cat, and make sure we use a CA image, not a JavaScript image. And then we just need to, I wonder if we can do a shortcut here. So we're going to create a function here, and this will be our image, the CA image. And now we're going to assign it. So our Grumpy Cat equals image. And I spelled Grumpy Cat wrong, and I apologize. This is very rude of me. Set that to the correct spelling because that's important. So now, so the reason that there's a this here and not a this here is that this variable name is the same as this. The member variable name is the same as the passed in name. So now we got two images that we're loading. So this is kind of not going to work as well. So what we're going to do is we're going to create a new function. It's going to say, we're actually going to say check loaded. I'm going to make this inline. So what this means is that when the compiler builds it, it'll actually just, it won't make it a separate function call. So it's a kind of a performance thing. It's probably way overkill for what we're doing right now at this point, but we want to make sure that we keep our good practices strong the whole time. It's a lot harder to go back and remember all the things that you wanted to change, or wanted to fix, or wanted to improve. Yeah, if it's easy, just do it now. We don't need this yakking at me. And so, just making kind of an easy, quick sanity check. So you can check if both of these guys aren't null or initialized. And so now we're ready to go here. So we have our text going, and we want to put the cat behind. So the way this works is everything renders on top of the previous thing. So if I put the Grumpy Cat here, things will be rendered behind, or on top. Rendered on top. And then here, we want it bottom. and this is in relation to the hello world. It's not on bottom of anything other than its relationship to the other things. So I want to put the cat underneath the hello world just so you can see some layering happen. We can move it around when we're done. So what we're going to do is we're going to draw the image. The image is going to be gigantorous, but we can play with that. Grumpy cat, and I'm going to set that as 0. So theoretically, if everything is set up right, we'll see a picture of a grumpy cat with some hello world flying over the top of it. This is probably the most exciting game ever, and we're basically done after this. This is going to go straight to the App Store. Everyone loves a grumpy cat with a hello world over it. No possible way you can argue that. So here we go. We're building it up. And it crashed. So we're going to ignore that. We'll find out why it crashed. This is where the fun begins. Oh, we need a back buffer. That's what's going on. We're going to need a back buffer. So we need a place to render our image onto. So we create a back buffer. So this is something kind of renders behind as it sounds. And when we create our kitty, we're going to create our back buffer. Image create. We'll just make it the size of the screen. 6,000. In fact, let's take the back buffer here and just make sure it happens synchronously, so I don't have to worry about that being loaded. And now we're going to get the graphics. I can just do impose the back buffer, graphics, PG2, and just do this. And so now we should be able to grab our grumpy cats here, and then when we want to start our drawing, begin. I think, is it G2? Yeah. And then change. So now we've got our back buffer drawn with our grumpy cat, and now we just need to drop it onto our frame buffer. So we're going to say scalar scale image, and this is going to be our back buffer destination. I'm trying to remember how this works. Actually, I think I got this scale wrong. I might have to look at something I tried earlier. Scale transformation? No. Let's see what the canvas does. Canvas. Where are you, canvas? I might have to cheat and take a peek. I can't remember what the canvas is for. So I did this earlier. Started again. No, that's not it. Actually, I think it's under here. Oh, it's a frame buffer. Ugh. Gotta draw it into the frame buffer, which is exactly what I said. Right? Gotta draw it on the frame buffer. That's cute. How embarrassing. And then What was this last time? Screen rotation. And then I think that's I could just do that. Do the same thing. Okay. Let's run it up. See what happens. Ah, and it died again. Alright, what do we got going on here? So we've got our back buffer. Copycat. I'm going to try the screen rotation thing. Maybe that's the issue. System. Rotation. We'll get it. And if not, well, we won't. But we should. You got to keep the CPU warm, keeping it building. Ah. Alright. So, every tutorial is not without its issues. Let's see here. Let's see what the back buffer's doing. We're going to ditch this for now. In fact, I have a feeling it's a problem with the back buffer image. So, I just did this. It's kind of a bummer. Hit render target. Is that what I did? Nope. Create render target. Wow. Okay. What am I missing? We got our frame buffer. Oh, that's the problem. No, that's not the problem. What is the difference I see? Zero. Make sure it's actually, oops. Make sure it's actually building. Yeah. So this is what happens when you do it live. Sometimes you have to fumble your way through it. But it's all part of the process. And we're still crashing. So let's see here. So what we can do is let's check out all of our possible things that could be. Doesn't make sense, but oh well. We'll just start debugging. This is how we get it done, I guess. This is how it's going to go down. And I'm sure someone out there knows exactly what I'm missing, but it's hard to tell when you're staring at it. So we should be able to see, so we're failing way before that. So what do we got going on here? Let's see if we didn't actually build that there. So we should at least get a frame buffer, or a back buffer graphics. That's what we're looking for. Usually segfault is a null pointer, and it's still a segfault. Odd. So, that is super odd. So essentially back to here. Make sure that we're getting I'm not even okay, so 155. There we go. So it didn't actually build. So this happens. Yeah, this is the part of debugging, especially with some new engine. This is still new to me. Don't get discouraged. You can fast forward if you'd like, or you can watch me struggle. That's cool too. Are you kidding me? I'm curious, because this is essentially back to where we. Essentially back to our hello world at this point. I'm wondering if there's some sort of, sometimes there's a build cache and it's not actually rebuilding. That seems unlikely, but it's also strange that it's caching. There we go, so that's good. I wonder if it's the image not loading. Okay, let's try to back buffer. Kind of a bummer here is it's a lot harder to use a debugger in Hacks because it actually generates C++. We'll probably do some research into what would make this debugging easier. Notice Core may have a debugger, but I wasn't able to get it working last night. So that seems to be getting us further. Now we're actually going to load the image. We got to get our grumpy kitty on screen. Okay, so it's the kitty loading. So what we're going to do is just going to, just going to comment that out. Looks like the grumpy cat loading may be an issue. So let's just see here. Let's see if grumpy cat comes in. Seems like it was a innocent little image loading thing, but apparently it turned into a big thing. Wow. Huh. Is it possible that the grumpy cat is crashing the build? Could that cat be that grumpy? So, in the meantime, say less grumpy cat. Because that appeared to crash it. So it seems to appear to be that image, surprisingly enough. Could be because it has dashes in it. Let's try that first. It seems strange that it would crash on that. So we're going to try it to underscores. And see if that does the trick. And then we learned our lesson about file names. I've seen stranger things happen in software development. And in a small way, I hope this is not it, but if it is, I'll be happy because then we can actually move on and get this grumpy cat on screen. My other question is maybe this image is just really large. And that's a possibility. It's a pretty big grumpy cat. So yeah, see, that was actually the underscores. It looks like it initializes it as a variable name, and dashes in a variable name don't work. Lesson learned: no dashes in variable names in general, not just this image. So let's get this all back uncommented, and hopefully I didn't uncomment too much. That it's more broke. More borked. We really need this grumpy cat. This is an important grumpy cat. It's essential to our game. And if we don't get our grumpy cat in, no app store. There we go. There's our grumpy cat and our hello world being across the screen as promised. Just a little, it took a little bit longer to get us there, but now we know. No hyphens in variable names, which in this case, assets. So let's do one more little refactor before we finish this off. I was mentioning last time we could use the load everything, and then this one particular case, I think load everything works. So we're going to say assets load everything on everything loaded. It's probably not it's not really going to make a whole lot of improvement to our code, but I just wanted to show an example of how doing on everything loaded works. So it does simplify things a hair. I don't use this method too often, so I can say assets. I thought it was just like this. I think it's just that. I'm just going to trace this real quick. I rarely use this, and I don't use this engine that much, so it makes it sound like this is something I do all the time, but just want to do this. So this has no field, so I think it's maybe like as or something. As. No. Let's look it up. Assets. It's a peculiar way of getting the images. This gives us a font list. We could just try this. Fonts. Let's see if that does something to us. going to crash. We don't want it to crash. It saved us right before it crashed. So this will get us a, hopefully it'll give us the font. Hopefully it won't give us a crash. There we go. And we just get the asset clear. So that's not the right thing. I think it's 2. It's a really peculiar syntax I've never seen before. No, that's not it either. You know what? I'm just going to abandon that. It's really not that exciting. Go back to what we had before. We'll probably never use it again. We'll likely have lists of things that will load. So we'll likely not use it just because of memory constraints and things like that. Because it's great for prototyping, which after this point we're probably not going to be prototyping more. We're going to actually start building the game engine itself. We're just kind of playing around a little bit, making sure we understand what's going on. You know, these are sort of our building blocks. Kind of what I like to do is I kind of like to prove that something's going to work, and once it gets working, I abstract it and start improving on it and building layers on top of layers and making our tool sets faster and better. So here's our hello world as it was before. I'm going to do one thing. I'm actually going to take out our trace statement here. It's not. Okay, so there we have it. We have our kitty on the screen. We've got some text moving, and so I'm going to take these comments out because they're not that useful. Oh, I guess I'll take them. Now let's commit to our code. We have all we made our changes to is our live game. Actually, what we're going to do is I'm going to set up a get ignore, and so we can not have this idea directory being saved. So we're just going to do get ignore. Idea, and we also want our IML file not saved. And now if we look here, if it ignores back, I'm going to actually add this run file so you guys can use it too. So I'm just going to commit everything that's A, all, and M with a comment, which is we've added a grumpy cat. And so there's that. Oops, we want to push it to Skyler. And our master, master. So now we'll have master on GitHub, so GitHub. This is going to be our live game. There's our latest. You can see our grumpy cat. There's our grumpy cat. And now we're going to say git tag. Today is the 25th, so 2016, 02/25. And this is at 8/18. And our comment is 02. Why not? So git push Skyler date, and everything went well. Should have our tags, and there we are. This is yesterday and today. All right, that's all I have for us today. I'm going to go put this up on YouTube shortly. You guys have a great day, and hopefully I'll see you again tomorrow. All right, see you later.